Today we are talking about notes on volume of rectangular prisms. So the key thing in today's notes is everything that we're doing is going to be a rectangular prism. So in your head, go ahead. In your head, the shape that you should be picturing is like a box. All right, I want you to think about like boxes that stuff comes in. Does everything have the same size box? No, the boxes can be big, small, short, tall, skinny, fat. So they're kind of, boxes can be any size. And when we're talking about the volume of these boxes, or the volume of these rectangular prisms, we're measuring the space occupied by that solid region. So how much space is inside of that box? How much stuff can I fit inside of there? All right, now in 6th grade, we only need to know the formula for the volume of a rectangular prism. Okay, and the formula for the volume, we're going to use a capital V because we're talking about volume. Make sure I don't write any A's. I did earlier today. So capital V equals, volume equals length times width times height. Now I want us to look at this. When it says length times width, where else have I seen length times width? Lily?
For the formula of a rectangle.
What about a rectangle? Jackson?
The area of a rectangle.
The area of a rectangle. So I want us to think about something. So I know length times width is the area of a rectangle. And we're talking about a rectangular prism. Do you think that's a coincidence? No. If I know length times width goes with a rectangle and we're talking about a rectangular prism, that's happening for a reason. All right? In fact, if I look at this, here's a rectangular prism. If I look at the rectangle that's on the bottom right now, what sides did they give me to go with that? L and W, because L and W make my rectangle. Are y'all okay with that? All right. Now in the 6th grade, we just need to know length times width times height, but I'm an overachiever. So I want us to also talk about the formula that will go with any prism. Because any prism, you will be doing other prisms in 7th grade. So if you know this formula, then you'll already know the 7th grade formula. So the 7th grade formula says that volume equals capital B times the height. Remember back when I told you do not write capital letters? Here's why. This capital B stands for something else. Right? It still stands for the base, but not just the base. Capital B stands for the area of the base. All right? So if you look here at this other picture, it's the same picture, but here at the bottom they labeled it with a capital B. What shape is that bottom shape?
A rectangle.
A rectangle. And what is the formula for a rectangle? The area of a rectangle? Length times width. So do y'all see how big B and length times width are really meaning the same thing? This is the area of a rectangle. Big B is the area of a rectangle, which is going to be the shape of our base here. All right? So keeping in mind that next year, that's what we're going to do. I want to show you something that will apply to next year and why I think this formula is probably a little bit better. So next year, you might be given the shape that looks like this. You don't have to write this down. Just kind of pay attention with me for a second. All right, what do you think that shape is?
Triangular.
A triangular prism. Y'all agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do y'all know the area of a triangle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So guess what, guys? You can do the volume of a triangular prism. We're not going to have to do it in the 6th grade, but just hypothetically speaking, we know that volume equals, I can't use length times width times height because that's only for a rectangle. So we're going to do my big B times H. Now, remember, does base mean bottom? No, base does not mean the bottom. All right. In fact, guys, if this is a triangular prism, what shape do you think your base has to be? A triangle. So I could say this front triangle is the base, which basically means someone has come and pushed it over, right? So it's fallen onto the back. Someone's pushed it over, and this was actually the base. So with that in mind, what would be the area of the base for this shape? Anyone think they can tell me? The area of the base. What shape is my base? A triangle. So what is the area? Let me rephrase that. What is the formula for that area? Lizzie?
A equals BH divided by 2.
So this capital B would change to lowercase b h divided by 2, right, times the height. Now, are these two h's the same height? No. This one's talking about my triangle. This one's talking about my prism. All right. And in the 7th grade, you'll talk about how to distinguish those more. All right. But what matters, guys, is if I've shaded in that triangle, if I've shaded in my base, it's going to make this information easier to find. If you understand that this is just the area of the base, it's going to make that information easier to find in the 7th grade. Okay. So with that said, when we work these problems today, all right, the first thing we're going to do is color in our base. In the 6th grade, it will not affect your answer. Will it affect your answer in the 7th and 8th, though? Yeah. So we want to go ahead and practice while our shapes are really easy. Guys, does it get easier than a rectangle? That's pretty much the easiest shape there is. All right. So let's look at number 1. All right. First, I'm going to tell you what I think is the easiest way to pick my base. All right. I want you to look at all these numbers on number 1. And I want you to pick 2 numbers that would make a rectangle. What 2 lines could I put together and make a rectangle? Parker?
10 feet and 5.
So if I look, so Parker has said 10 feet. That's this line on the bottom, right? And he said 5 feet. Do y'all see how I've drawn those lines? Do those go together to where I could create a rectangle? Do y'all see how they form this corner right here? Yeah. So that means I could color that in the rest of the way and make a rectangle. So were those good numbers to pick? Yeah. All right, and that's what you're going to do on your homework tonight. Were those the only 2 numbers I could have picked? No. I could have actually picked 2 and 5, and it could have been on the side. All right? Here's the deal, guys. On your homework this week as you do it, all right, I'm not going to be checking your work. Do I ever check your work on your homework? No, like for effort that you did it, all right? But at the end of the day, you get points for your answer on homework, correct? On your test, which is next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, on your test, you will get points for shading in a correct rectangle. You will get points for picking the correct numbers that go on our rectangle. And you will get points for your answer. Okay? And of course, you will get points for your formula. So let's start off with that formula. What's our formula? V equals length, width, and height. All right. Now what's important here? Whatever we shaded has to be our length and width. So what numbers have to be my length and width for what Parker chose to shade? What do I have to choose my length and width? Addison?
10 and 5.
10 and 5. So on the test, if I shaded this box in and then I picked 10 and 2, you would lose points. We'll still get the right answer. You won't lose all your points. But are 10 and 2 on that box that I colored? No, so I would lose points for that middle step. Are y'all good with that? All right, so since I picked 10 and 5 on my box, what has to be my height? 2. Okay, so now we're going to multiply that. What do we get?
100.
100 feet. Now for area, we put that it was squared. Remember, this is 3-dimensional, right? I'm wanting to know all of that space in this box. So I'm going to put a 3. All right? The way you could read this would be 100 feet cubed. Okay? On Friday, I got really tickled. I had a good laugh like all afternoon Friday. Before the test, we were kind of talking about making sure you write your answers, making sure you put your measurement. And one of my students was asking about the measurement. And they were saying, well, do I put the square or do I put the 2? Well, I was very confused because I was like, well, if I put 5 feet squared, that is the same as 5 feet with a little 2. And it took me a second to understand what they were asking. What they had been doing is drawing a little bitty square. I got so tickled. So here, make sure you put a 3, all right, which is the same as a cube. Don't draw out the cube, all right? Just like when we put the 2, we don't draw the square, all right? We were able to figure out what they were asking and get it fixed, and they did it all correctly on the test. But I had never thought about that, y'all, and I laughed so hard, and then I felt bad because they were being completely serious, okay? So it's 100 feet to the 3rd power. Turner?
So we're coloring like the box that we can, like the base.
So you're coloring in, we're going to color in the base. Now, does base mean it has to be the bottom? No, but the base means that I have to have a length and a width. So Turner, I'm going to get you help me with number 2. All right, on number 2, which 2 numbers will make a rectangle on that shape?
4 and 3.
All right, 4 and 3.1. So y'all see here's 3.1, and here's 4. Do y'all see how those will come together on the same rectangle?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to finish shading that in the rest of the way. And so now, Turner, what you just picked by doing that, that is going to be your base. Okay? So I'm going to put volume equals length times width times height. So since I picked that box, Turner, what do my length and width have to be? 4 and 3.1. Does it matter which order I put those 2 numbers in?
No.
No, as long as they're together. So then my height, Turner? What's the other number on there? 5.6. Okay, so what's happened here is this would have been the base, but it's kind of like this shape was pushed over. All right, this shape was pushed over. All right, so when I multiply this one out, what do I get? Make sure you type that in carefully. What do I get when we multiply this out, Parker?
69.44
With the 3, which is cubed. So 69.44 meters to the 3rd, or you can say cubed. Either one, as long as we make sure we're putting the 3 there. Okay? All right, number 3. What 2 numbers are going to make a rectangle? Which 2 numbers would be a good base? Okay?
1 1/3 and 6 3/4.
Okay, so I can do 1 1/3. Could I have done the bottom 1 1/3 to go with 6 3/4? Now, if I picked this line, it would not have touched that line. So I have to make sure, and you can see, so I'm coloring in that 6 3/4 and 1 1/3. Did those end up touching each other?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good base to pick. Okay, so it's really important we make sure that they touch before we color it in. Okay, so volume equals length times width times height. All right, what would be a good length and width for this shape? A good length and width. What do you think, Kate?
6 3/4 and 1 1/3.
6 3/4 and 1 1/3. Because those are the numbers that Kate told me to use to make the rectangle. Do y'all see how those go on there? All right, so what has to be my height, Tate?
1 1/3.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I put the wrong number there. So this other 1 1/3. Okay. All right, carefully multiplying those. Carefully multiplying those. Make sure you type in each fraction carefully. Give everyone a chance to type that in. Right. What do I get? What did you get when you typed yours in, Jackie? $12. Are we sure? Do our fractions completely go away? Charlie?
11 and 7 and 7.
Okay. Noah? Kai?
12.
Turner?
12 yards and 12 yards and
Parker?
12 yards cubed.
All right, Charlie, let me see your calculator. Charlie, come here. Did you clear it? Now I can't go back and see what you typed in.
Right, so I did all the fractions correctly.
Mm-hmm. Good job. All right, so we got 12 yards to the third, or cubed. Okay. And it might have been, Charlie, because remember I wrote a 4 there earlier, so you might have put in the 4 like I wrote the first time, which was kind of my fault. Okay. All right, so number 4, sorry, I kind of hole punched through the number, but number 4 is down here. And this one has a lot more extra numbers on there. Guys, just because it has extra numbers, does that mean I need to use all of them? No. Okay, so let's pick 2 numbers here that are going to make a rectangle. Noah, what you got?
4 and 10.
4 and 10. Can I use this 4? No, this 4 is nowhere near the only 10. So if I'm going to use this 10, I need to make sure I use the 4 that is attached to it. Do you see how those two touch each other? So that's going to be what I color in for my base. Okay, so V equals LWH. Okay. So what are going to be my length and my width here? Kai?
4 and 10.
4 and 10. Do I need both 4s?
No.
No, so I can mark out that one that I'm not using. And then what's my height going to be?
17.
17. Does it matter which one I choose?
No.
No, but do I need both?
Yes. No.
No, we only want one height, so I'm going to mark out one of the 17. You can mark out either one. So now we're going to multiply those 3 numbers, because we should only be doing a length, a width, and a height. What do we get, Lizzie? 600 and? 80 meters cubed. Very good. All right, and then number 5, a rectangular prism measuring 10 meters and 7 meters along the base and 12 meters tall, and we want to find the volume for it. Do I need to draw it? No, we know our formula, which says A equals L, V equals LWH. At least I wrote the V. V equals LWH. Right, what has to be my L and my W? What 2 numbers have to be the length and the width here? What do you think, Enrique?
10 and 7.
Why? Is it because they come front in the front? Why do 10 and 7 have to be the length and the width? Nathan? It says that those are on the base, which makes them my length and my width. And then 12 is the height because it tells how tall it is. All right, so when I multiply that out, what do I get for my answer here, Jackson? 840 meters cubed. Okay. All right, on the back is your work for today. You should be able to do it in class. I know some of these have some dark shading on them. I still want you to shade in your base. It might help to use a highlighter or a pen, or just use your pencil and make sure it shows up where you're shading, okay? Are there any questions about the homework before you get started? Turner? You shade, then write your formula, write your numbers, find your answer.